fellow Movie Crusaders, and welcome to another episode of Sean's Movie Crusades. Today we are going to be reviewing the latest Disney remake, The Lion King. Now, me personally, I was super excited for this film. The Lion King, the original Lion King, is hands down my favorite Disney film, animated Disney film of all time. That and Aladdin are my top two, and we got to see both of those this year in terms of live action. I thought Aladdin was a solid adaptation of the story and of the remake, and I actually didn't mind it. I actually prefer it in certain aspects to the original. With Lion King, the original is pretty much a damn near perfect film. I really have no negatives for The Lion King. It's one of the most perfect animated films of all time. So when they were remaking this, I was a little like, okay. But they got Jon Favreau, who did a fantastic job with Jungle Book. He made the animals look amazing in there. And then they released the first trailer to The Lion King. It was the Circle of Life trailer. That was the best trailer you could show to get everyone excited for this film, which everyone did. The animals look amazing, and it's an uplifting trailer. The Circle of Life is that one song. I think for the longest time I had it as my morning alarm to wake me up. Until it got annoying, But I love the Circle of Life song. The soundtrack in general from The Lion King is fantastic and one of the best ones they ever did. So this was one of my most anticipated films of the year. Plus, I love the cast that they casted for this. I was a little bummed that we couldn't get Jeremy Irons back as Scar, but I love that we got James Earl Jones back as Mufasa. So the cast looked really solid. It looked visually stunning, and of course, it's one of my favorite films of all time. Now, I get a lot of people were upset with Disney going back and redoing all these films. I will die on this hill. I actually loved the Beauty and the Beast remake. I thought it was fantastic, and it was one of my favorite films of the year when it came out. Dumbo I was not a fan of. You guys know how I feel about Aladdin since I just said it. Jungle Book I was fine with. I actually enjoyed the Jungle Book quite a bit, and I did not see Cinderella, and I think Maleficent doesn't really count as Sleeping Beauty, but I think that's what they're doing with it, and I didn't really care for those. It's one of those things where it's like, look, you guys just have to get over the fact that they're going to do this to all of the films. They're all getting remade to live action in a way. I know Lion King's not live action. It's still technically animation. It's phenomenally real-life looking animation, but it's still animation. They got Mulan coming out. A Little Mermaid got announced. They doing Lady and the Tramp. It's just like, just accept it. It's happening. They're not going to stop because they make a ton of money. This movie's going to make a ton of money. And to get mad about it it's just a waste of time. It's going to happen, so just sit and enjoy it. And that's what I was hoping to do with Lion King, was to sit back, enjoy one of my favorite animated films of all time, and watch it in a way where it literally looked close to real life. So let's go ahead and go into the review and see what I thought of The Lion King. Now, I will say, it's common sense, but everyone, for the most part, has seen the original Lion King. And since this is basically a pretty much shot-for-shot remake of this, I will throw up the spoiler tag for this. I'm not going to hesitate on talking about this film and certain aspects of the film. So if you guys have never seen Lion King, A, who are you? And B, be prepared, because be prepared. Great song. I'm going to talk about stuff that happens in the film, because you guys probably saw it in the original back in 1994 when it came out. So I'm not shocking anybody. I'm not spoiling anything, because you guys have all seen this film before in animated form. So here's my spoiler warning for this, because I'm not going to hold back on the plots of the story when I'm talking about my review. So there that is. Going to the actual general plot. Like I said, everyone knows what Lion King is, but basically it takes place in Africa. A king and his queen bear a child by the name of Simba, and Simba has a uncle who thinks he should rightfully be king by the name of Scar. Scar basically creates a assassination attempt on Mufasa, thus blaming it on Simba. Simba runs away, and Simba grows up with a ragtag group of characters named Timon and Pumbaa until he grows up and tries to retake the throne. I know that's basically beat for beat the movie, but that's the plot of The Lion King. I don't know if you can really explain it better than animals talking. But yeah, that's the plot. Now, what works with The Lion King? Visually, I mean, it's breathtaking. It's the closest thing to watching talking animals on planet Earth. Every shot is wallpaper, uh, beautiful. I mean, I could take any shot of this film and put it on a poster, and I would put it on my wall, or I would put it on my screensaver, or on my phone. It looks visually stunning all the way through. Because of that, and I'll get into it a little bit later, there are certain negatives to it, but it does look fantastic shot for shot from beginning to end. There's not a single shot of this film where I'm going, that didn't look that good. At least visually, anyway. The cast. The cast is relatively solid throughout. There are some performances I felt were kind of lacking, but the standouts definitely go to Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner as Timon and Pumbaa. When they do finally show up in the film, they are definitely a delight. They definitely liven up the performances and the overall story in general. They do add some new lines to the film, some more kind of improv stuff, and they're funny all the way throughout. They're definitely highlights of the film. I also really liked Eric Andre and Keegan-Michael Key's hyenas, Kamari and Azizi. Can't really say much about Serafina, who's played by Penny Johnson-Gerald. They really just don't give her much time to really do anything. But Keegan-Michael Key and Eric Andre's Kamari and Azizi are hilarious. They're fun to watch. And whenever they're on screen, I'm actually generally excited to see what they're going to say. Yes, their notes are pretty one note, but they hit and they work throughout. Chiwetel Ejiofor, I think he does a solid job as Scar. Yes, there are certain parts where I'm like, Jeremy Irons hit that better. But for the most part, Chiwetel does a great job. John Oliver, I thought did a really good Zazu throughout the film. Of course, James Earl Jones, Mufasa. I mean, do I even have to say he's fantastic as Mufasa? I mean, he's fantastic. He goes without saying. That is one thing that I probably shouldn't have had to say, because we all know he was going to be amazing in it. I thought Donald Glover did a solid job as older Simba. And then I also think J.D. McCrary did a good job as young Simba, and Shahadi Wright Joseph as young Nala, I thought did a pretty good job. Trying to see if there's anyone that I'm leaving out here. No, I pretty much hit most of the cast. All of them do solid voice work. They all do good jobs of acting for the role. I mean, they're reading the lines and everything. They all do a pretty decent job overall. Jon Favreau does a great job of making you feel like this is a real life film, except that the animals are talking. So they do a great job with that. That's basically all I'm going to say for what works. Now, what does not work with The Lion King? The best way I could say to go into this film and love it is to go into, or you guys remember Men in Black, where you have the mind eraser. The best way to love this film is to basically get one of those and erase your mind of ever seeing the original film. Because unlike Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Jungle Book, and heck, I guess even Dumbo, when I was watching those live action remakes, there was never really much, maybe a little bit in Aladdin, but there was never really much in any of the performances where I was going, the original did that better, or the original did this better, or they didn't do quite as good as the original. I didn't really do that much with those. With Aladdin, I did that almost every 5-10 minutes. I was like, the original was better. The original hit that better. The emotions were better in the original. And that's the main problem with Lion King. If I was seeing The Lion King for the very first time, and I'd never seen the original, never heard about the original, and all I have is just this film, then this film's utterly fantastic. It's great visuals, great solid acting, the music's catchy, and it's an enjoyable film overall. But with the mindset of, I have seen the 1994 classic, I have watched it many, many, many times, I know that movie beat for beat, I know exactly when certain lines of the dialogue are supposed to go be up here and not down here. I know with the songs, certain parts where the songs are supposed to get up here, not down here. I know that movie beat for beat. And when this movie is playing, I'm literally kind of watching it, but playing the old one in my ear. And when they don't hit the same peaks as the original, it kind of falls flat. And a lot of that happens in this film. A lot of these voice actors are not good singers. Seth Rogen cannot sing. He sounds like Kermit the Frog. John Oliver, not a solid singer. J.D. McCrary apparently is a singer, but he does not do the best job of I Just Can't Wait to Be King. Shahadi Wright Joseph actually does a really great job as young Nala in the song. Be Prepared with Chiwetel Ejiofor. He does alright, but it's not as good. The music, every single song outside of blanking on the title, the Lion Sleeps Tonight in the Jungle, that song. I'm blanking on the title of the song. That song hit beautifully. That was my favorite part of the film, was that sequence when they're singing that song. Every other song just does not compare or compete with the original. Either A, the vocals are flat compared to the original, and they just don't hit the peaks and levels that the original did. That just leaves you kind of, not empty, but just wanting more. It's more like when you hear a phenomenal song done by a great singer, and then you're listening to karaoke. You're like, oh, they did a good job, but it's not the original. You're not, oh, you sang My Heart Will Go On, but you're not Celine Dion. That's what it felt like watching this with the songs. Even Beyonce and Donald Glover, when they sing Can You Feel the Love Tonight, it's not, it doesn't feel like they're singing in the same room with one another. It literally feels like they are each singing their parts separately, and then they just combine them together in a song. It feels void of any emotion together in this. And that's another big problem with the film as well, is yes, these characters look phenomenally realistic, and they look just like their real life animals. But the problem is that unlike the animated film, you can't really sell emotion with animals' eyes. You just can't. The Mufasa death. Yes, spoilers, Mufasa dies. That is one of the most heartbreaking scenes in probably cartoon history. It ranks right up there. And the cartoon classic sells it beautifully. This one, it's just a scene to me. I'm waiting for that. I was like, okay, here it comes. And like as it was coming, like the stampede and all that stuff, I'm like, oh crap, here we go. I don't know if I'm ready to see this in real life. And then it happens, and I'm just kind of, because Simba can't sell it, and it's not the tiger's or the lion's fault, obviously. It's just, but the eyes, they're just emotionless. Like with an animator, they can color like sadness in the eyes, they can add tears, they can do all this and that, but they don't do it in this. So the emotional weight of that scene is just not carried well by the young Simba, because the eyes can't be changed for emotional weight on it. Are there times in the movie where the emotion is sold really well? Sure, but not in that scene. And that scene, with when I watched it, I didn't feel sad. I just kind of felt nothing. Kind of like the emotion I was getting from the characters. I was getting nothing out of the emotion. Yeah, the words were being spoken, but the faces were just blank. And so I wasn't able to really get any emotion out of it. Now, one scene that I actually thought sold it really well was the scene with Simba talking to Timon and Pumbaa about the stars. And Simba says, "Well, I was told that it was the former kings looking down on us," which is in the original. And Timon and Pumbaa are laughing at him about it. And then in that scene, I can see Simba's sadness. That was done beautifully, and I felt the heartache in Simba's like visuals. But it just doesn't work throughout the rest of the film. And honestly, it just falls flat almost in every scene for the most part. Now, there are some scenes, like I said, where it does look good, like in that scene. And there's one scene with Scar where Scar actually does look very well in terms of emotion. But for the most part, all the animals' faces are just blank. And they just don't sell it quite well. Rafiki, he looks great, but he's utterly wasted in this film. There are scenes in this movie, and this is another big problem. There are scenes in this movie that are either taken out from the original or adjusted to look more realistic. And it takes away some of the magic that the classic had. One scene in particular, which was a beautifully rendered scene in the classic, is when Simba is talking to Mufasa in the clouds. We get that beautiful silhouette of Mufasa in the clouds talking to Simba about remember who you are, be who you're supposed to be, which is king. In the real cut, or in this version, because it's not realistic to have a lion talking to another lion in the clouds, they literally just have Simba talking to a huge puff of clouds, and the lightning will strike, and the lightning will kind of somewhat form a face a little bit, but it's for a split second. Other than that, he's just talking to clouds of a storm, and it doesn't resemble or look anything like Mufasa. The one particular scene with Timon and Pumbaa when they're trying to distract the hyenas near the end, and they're wearing hula skirts and they're dancing and stuff, that's not in this because real life hog and prairie dogs wouldn't put hula skirts on, so they do something else, which I'm not going to say what they do. And while it's kind of a chuckle, once again, it doesn't have the magic that the original had. And that's the big problem about this Lion King. Well, visually, yes, it's visually stunning and it looks amazing, but it feels very hollow and emotionless. It doesn't have anything that made you love the original. And that's why I said, like, if I didn't see the original or knew nothing about the original, then yes, I probably would have loved this film. But because I had that prior experience, that emotional weight with that previous film, and everything that film gave me and made me feel in my life, watching this, I just felt utterly empty watching this movie, which is a great disappointment, because I thought this was going to be one of the best films of the year. I was super, super excited for it, and ultimately it just felt flat. I mean, yes, this movie is going to make a ton of money, and I'll go ahead and roll this into my overall thoughts. Do I think this will make a ton of money? Absolutely. I mean, the screen I was in was sold out. I would recommend for the older audiences, like my age and older, try to go to the latest shows possible to avoid children, because my audience basically felt like a daycare. And it was really distracting while watching the movie because none of the kids would be quiet, because parents don't like to discipline their kids. And if you can't discipline your kids, don't bring them to a movie theater. Don't let them run around like morons for the entire time. If they can't sit in their seat and be quiet and watch a movie, don't bring them to a movie theater. But anyway, that's besides the point. But yeah, try to go to the latest shows possible to avoid that, so it doesn't take you out of the experience. Do I still recommend it? Sure. But don't go in expecting to find the love and magic that you had with the previous film. And I know it sounds like I'm verbally attacking the hell out of this movie, but like I said, take the classic out of the equation. This is still a fantastically well done film. It visually is stunning. It looks great. It is still a really, really good film overall. So with that, I would still recommend the movie, but I would temper my expectations going into it, because if you are a huge, huge fan of the classic, it is not going to hit those same peaks and levels and emotions that you got from the cartoon as you will in this film. But yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it. So going into my top 10 movies of 2019 so far, Aladdin does crack into the top 10, but does not go very far, as it lands at the number 9 spot. So going to my top 10 movies of 2019, number 1 is going to stay at Toy Story 4, number 2 being Avengers Endgame, 3 being Rocketman, 4 being Spider-Man Far From Home, 5 being Booksmart, 6 going to Us, 7 John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, 8 Midsummer, 9 goes to Lion King, 10 Long Shot, with Child's Play dropping out of the top 10. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I hope this review helped you guys, because I know a lot of people are going to be going to Lion King this week and for the weeks to come. If you guys like this review, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys feel like this review is worth sharing, go ahead and hit that share button. But most importantly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that way you guys stay up to date with the latest videos that pop up on YouTube. And also don't forget to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. I'd like to also apologize. I know on my last review I said I was going to be doing a review for Stuber and Crawl, but just like John Malcolm in Jurassic Park, life finds a way, and stuff just came up and I wasn't able to see them. Do I plan on seeing them at some point? Absolutely. And when I do, I will have reviews for them. But as of right now, I'm just busy. I don't have the time to do it. But next week, 100% I am going to do this. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood comes out. That's another movie I've been really, really, really excited for. So be on the lookout for that review. Also, there's going to be a lot of things coming up soon here for the channel that I'm really, really excited about expanding, adding more cast to the show, more guest stars. Definitely the Movie Cruzaders are growing, and I'm going to be bringing some on the show. We're going to be discussing a lot of fun topics, a lot of fun things. I posted on the Facebook page, post what movies you would like to have us talk about, and we will do a whole episode talking about that one movie. But be warned, if it's a movie we don't like, we will verbally destroy it. So be wary about what you do recommend, or recommend what you want. Just don't be upset if we didn't like it. But yeah, leave your comments below. Did you guys watch The Lion King? Did you like it? Did you not like it? You go ahead and leave movies you want us to talk about. We will hit that at some point. Sometime we're gonna record a lot of shows before we probably put them on air. So just because you're posting them here and you don't see them for a couple months, bear in mind they will come up. It's just we are trying to get quite a few shows stockpiled before we start putting them on air. But yeah, check out next week for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.